Welcome to your magic moon message. Yellow tank top, yellow cab, synchronicity, baby. That's how we started this shit. The moon is in Gemini, on Uranus, 1 degree. I'm gonna say that again. The moon is conjunct Uranus in Gemini at 1 degree. Okay? So this continues our 28-day cycle series of every time the moon will conjunct Uranus. It's going to retrograde back into Taurus. Then coming into next year, it's in Gemini for the next 7 years, or at least until like 2033. So that being said, y'all, whoo, this 1 degree conjunction is going to really kick off the conclusion of this transit. Given that the sun is like at the final degrees of Leo, at the tail end of the moon in Taurus, we have enacted the Capricorn signature. So we have naturally grounded this completion of the emerging nature of our talents and the supernatural breakthrough of processing more, of course, uniqueness and total domination when it comes to the expression of your talent. I'm throwing out adjectives here, but really the point I want to make is setting the theme of us stepping into a new era and a new world, a budding generation of children whose collective frequencies are going to bring us over the top with a Generation Z that is coming of age with their Saturn returns. All the pieces are basically set in place for 2026 to really steamroll the true beginning of this new Renaissance period, or at least new era. Okay, so with Uranus in Gemini, which is the unconventional innovation of your mindset that Jupiter in Gemini last year has expanded and evolved, what more brilliantly you think? Now that we have completed this Taurian manifestation of completing this emerging passion and talent, the moon in Gemini is producing the true intellectual effects. So the mutable sign in Gemini, you're understanding what initial effects Taurus is producing. It's like directing energy to, of course, a fan. The fan now produces wind magic or wind magecraft, aka just a fan propulsion system where the fixed state is pushing and producing wind for the fixed mechanism that we call a fan, which is a form of magecraft. Sorry. So that being said, I like to think that's a form of magic, right? But if you talk to me, everything is magic. So that being said, guys, this moon in Gemini coming out of the final degrees of Taurus is still within the Capricorn signature. So it's not going to really enact Aquarius signature, aka 300 degrees of the moon to the sun, until the moon is like maybe 25 degrees Gemini. So until it reaches there, we're still completing the cycle. We completed this natural grounding of how we produce our performance on stage, what natural values strengthen our courage we perform on stage, and now we are experiencing how it is changing our mindset, how our ideas are aligning to these principles. And that's the cool thing, because with the moon in a mutable sign, you are actively experiencing this change. So this is going to align your mindset to make sure not only you're understanding what ideas align with what you've activated and integrated since the past 3.5 weeks ago, but as this now kicks in the 300 degree of now innovation and rewards, you're going to understand how this ideas, how this mindset connects you with like-minded souls and individuals who you truly feel belong around you, who you belong around them, who really understand the significance of what you are achieving, who respect and actually acknowledge the success that you are and gain. Who is speaking your language? This is everything we're going to take into the eclipse with us when we inevitably go into Virgo season next week. Okay, so this is going to be pretty fucking crazy. I'm going to be honest with you, because Sagittarius is wild, but Gemini is crazy as fuck. So when we have a transit like this, people are going to be a lot more unhinged and understand what to say to really express that unhingedness without really any reason needed. So, I mean, that's fun for someone crazy like me, but like, if you're not really with that, just be very mindful. The unhingedness is only just beginning. And this is going to remind you of what that looks like. As the moon makes Gemini and Leo make a really special two-man together. It's a really good combination to kind of play off each other's energies. So it's like you got the royalty and Leo on stage, and then you have like the side character, Gemini, putting the one-liners out there to make sure the main character is still in the zone and can always also play off the main character in case they forget their lines or they're getting in the mood, and to just kind of set stuff up. It's actually Libra and Leo is a much more dynamic two-man, but Gemini and Leo cannot be underrated. You're going to really feel this, especially relative to everything you've learned this Leo season and how much more brilliantly you can express your ideas and not giving of an Fness. Okay, the not giving of an Fness is very important. Of course, the moon will be sextiling Saturn and Neptune retrograding back into Pisces. So this is going to be an extension of communicating this character you're redefining and reimagining, how you're getting ready to really represent the next era of yourself by transcending any illusions or separation around yourself and your goals and other people and what it is you really want. You are the creator of your reality. You have full responsibility. You choose how you respond to everything that's happened to you. Responsibility. So now that it's on Gemini, not only is it now activating this expression, but it's also reinitiating the unconventionality on Uranus and Gemini of how fluidly you can channel these insights. Of course, what we'll be channeling right now will inevitably be your new neural pathway. I want you to think of Moon in Gemini with Uranus like taking NZT. And if you ever saw the movie Limitless, you know that at the end of Limitless, at some point, he didn't really need the NZT anymore. His brain acclimated to it. So every time the moon goes on Uranus, it's like you're dosing yourself with NZT. And then afterwards, of course, you know, by the time Uranus is out of Gemini, you don't need it anymore. Like, you've already kind of worked your brain and developed your brain to a level to where it can operate at that level. So this is really beautiful. I want you to think this signature as the moon reaches the end of Gemini is you really processing rewards. We're done breaking through and harvesting. These are the rewards you're truly going to understand you're coming into. And that's why I like that it's an immutable sign, because you're going to understand the effects of what it is you've harnessed and what these true rewards really are of these emerging talents. This is why I'm calling this a true innovation of emerging talent, which is going to take, of course, what you showed yourself through the moon in Sagittarius, how these talents work, and then through Aquarius gain greater knowledge, so that, of course, now through Gemini, you're understanding the truth of this passionate energy in a way that you could put words around, and of course you could perform to people who now can truly complement that. And that's where through Pisces you transformed your beliefs around how these functions based on what you showed yourself. And so it's nice to see all this come back full circle. The moon, of course, in Gemini with Uranus is trining Mars in Libra. So you're going to understand immediately how to apply this level of innovation directly and altruistically towards others in alignment, as Saturn is still opposite Mars, with this integrity of character you are building brick by brick. It's important to remember too, this is still just the beginning. So if you're still caught up on pressures and expectations of an old world that wants you to be more than what you are, less than what you are, something you're not, an idea of what you are, that's a lot of the pressure and the stress you're being pretty much forced to let go or just let it bring you down with it, okay? Because at these initial degrees, we're still barely in the beginning of stepping into this new world, and you don't necessarily want to bring those old expectations into these new dynamics. And as we step into the next couple of years, it will look like we're in a new world. So we're still in that. We're going to spend the rest of the next 3 months phasing out the old world, meaning Saturn and Neptune are going to retrograde back into Pisces. We're going to have the opposition with the eclipse. Then, of course, Jupiter is going to retrograde in Scorpio season, and all these things are going to retrograde. And once they go direct and go back into Aries, we're done. We phased out the old. And you're going to see this reflected in pop culture and in the news and in everyday conversation. So, be mindful that some people will romanticize the past because that's all they have, and they're afraid to look forward because they're resistant to change. And then you have people who don't really take into account the wisdom from the past, and so they fall for everything that happens in the future. And all you really need is that good balance in order to stay present, and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and jargon. So Uranus in Gemini is really going to innovate very unconventionally how much smarter you can process information, how that aligns to these talents you have completed breaking through, and what true rewards uniquely to you you're going to process and experience. So that once we go through the balsamic phase through Cancer, you're feeling it, you're going to release it, and then we're going to have one of the most epic, legendary Virgo seasons ever. Okay, you guys stay blessed as always. Comment down below what you're excited to be rewarded, what you're rewarding yourself with. Claim it. All right, I have the ultimate guide to assumption playlist down below. Check it out. Also, my new episode of Astrological Profiles is dropping tomorrow, so I hope you guys are excited for that. And I'll catch you guys next week. Peace.